Hello everybody, my name is Jenae Nielson, and today I am doing a slide presentation on Louise Bourgeois. She is a very influential sculptor that did very many very cool sculptures in her lifetime. She really resonates with me because she put so much of herself into her work and into her sculptures, and you can kind of see her thought process when she's doing her artwork. Anyway, she was born on Christmas Day, December 25th in 1911, and she died on May 30th, 2010. Bourgeois was an abstract expressionist artist. She was quoted as saying, "It is not so much where my motivation comes from, but rather how I manage to survive." She was born in Paris, and her family owned a tapestry shop. Around 1919, her mother became extremely ill with the Spanish flu, and she never quite recovered. Louise was her main caregiver. As a result of her mother's illness, the family had to enlist an unpar, whose name was Sadie Richmond. She worked with young children, teaching them English, and lived with the family for over a decade. In this arrangement, Louise's father began an affair with that Ampere. This entangled situation and the effects of her father's behavior really affected Louise, and she portrayed a lot of that betrayal and abandonment from her father in her artwork later in life. Also, being a caregiver for her mother, that all became very important in her work. Louise's mother died in September of 1932, and in November of that same year, she graduated from high school, which was, in Paris, with actually emphasis in mathematics. However, she was profoundly depressed about her mother's death, and she soon turned to art. In 1938, Louise met her husband, an American art historian, Robert Goldwater, and moved to New York, where she raised 3 boys. Soon after her arrival in New York, she enrolled in the Art Student League, where she was mostly doing drawings. In the mid-1940s, she began sculpting a lot of forms out of wood in her apartment building. And all through the 40s and 50s, Louise's work was represented in the abstract expressionist artists, including Jackson Pollock, Mark Rothko, and William de Kooning. After the unexpected death of her father in 1951, she fell into another deep depression, which led to her psychoanalysis with Dr. Henry Losenfield in 1963. She was also quoted as saying about her work, "You learn for yourself, not for others, not to show off, not to put the other ones down. Learning is the secret. It is all you have and is the only thing you can call your own. Nobody can take that away." For about 11 years, she went into a relative seclusion. But shortly after that, she came out of her seclusion in New York, and she started making a lot of plaster and latex sculptures, but they were kind of leaning more towards an organic feel. Shortly after this period, Louise began to make her own self-enclosed sculptures known as cells in 1989. They became an important part of her output for many years. In these works, she explores themes about being trapped and anguished and having fear. And the word cell can refer to both enclosed room and as a prison. About this sculpture, Eyes and the Mirror, she was quoted as saying, "It is the quality of your eyes and the strength of your eyes that are expressed here. Nobody is going to keep me from seeing what is instead of what I would like to see. I really like this piece of art because Louise used to think that her parents were kind of contradicting each other when they would speak about things. And so I think this head inside of this cage really shows the different sides of that process where they're pulling different directions and there's all these different ideas. And so it's kind of a cool representation of like her family dynamic. Um, and she was also quoted as saying about this art piece, art is restorative. The idea is to repair the damage that has been inflicted in your life and to make something that is fragmented, which is what fear and anxiety do to a person, into something whole. Louise was known for making a lot of performance pieces all through the 80s and into 2000. This one called Legs is one of those representations of a big installation piece that was being hanging from the ceiling. This piece, she was quoted in saying, "In my sculptures, it's not an image I'm seeking and it's not an idea. My goals are to relive the past emotions. My art is an exorcism and a beauty of something I never talked about." In the early 1980s, she acquired a bigger studio space in Brooklyn. And at that time is when she started creating increasingly large-scale works. In 1994, she made her first installation of the first large-scale spider at the Brooklyn Museum, which she is now known for her spiders. In 1999, the Tate Museum of Modern Art commissioned her for their inauguration of their new location at the Turbert Hall in the Brookside Power Plant. She presented a 30-foot steel and marble spider named Madam. Now there are spiders all over the world. Her spiders really speak to her resentment for her father and his affair, and her mother, who was very much into tapestry and working with needles. At the base of this sculpture, Madam, there's like a basket which has very symbolic to working with needles and thread. And it's interesting that this piece is actually like, kind of representational of her mom in general, who I guess could be pretty cruel and scary. She passed away on May 31st, 2010, at the age of 98. So yeah, I really like her work, and I think it's beautiful and mysterious and slightly disturbing and scary, but it just is so representational of her mood and the things that she's gone through in her life. So yeah, anyway, this is just a little bit of a peek of some of her cool artwork and the cool things that she has done. Thanks for hanging in there and listening to my presentation. Have a great day. Thanks.